would instill and cement financial disciplines among public servants and within their institutions. And his government cannot condone the mismanagement of public funds as a norm, while he assured the public that his government will study the report objectives and implement its recommendations without fear or favor.
I assure you that my government will study the report objectively and will stand firm to implement the recommendations without fear or favor.
Reporting for iAfrica TV News, I am Sajo Sambu.
That was Sajo Sambu at the presentation of the report of the Janneh Commission. Well, viewers, joining me on the phone is Mr. Sidi Sane, Gambian economist and one-time diplomat. Good evening, Mr. Sane. It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. His Excellency, you have been a very keen follower of the Janneh Commission since its inception in 2017. What is your analysis of the report that has been presented today, and what is your expectation of it?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to welcome the report. It is finally out, but after 2 years. I've also been able to go through the presentation by both the chairman of the commission, Mr. Surahata Janneh, and also the Minister of Justice, Batambedu's presentation. They are very much welcome. It is a long-awaited outcome of the Commission's work. Now, the task before us is for government to go through the report and to advise the President and also to advise on both the content of the report and the recommendations of the report. We welcome it very much. Saying after that, the only other issue I have is, concern I have is the duration, the time that it is going to take for the government to advise the President on what to do. My understanding is that it is going to take 6 months, at least a maximum of 6 months, before advice can be presented to the President for him to take action. How long the action is going to take, that's also in doubt. I don't know exactly how long it will take. Given the amount of resources involved, which is a very substantial sum, the sooner we reach a decision and to implement the recommendations of the Commission, the better for the country.
Yes, but the President in his speech today promised the Gambian population that his administration will actually implement all the recommendations by the Commission. How can the government bring the fruitless to the book?
Well, the sooner they arrive at a conclusion, the better for us. As I said earlier, that I welcome the statement by the President, that he is going to wait for his advisors to advise him appropriately. I hope it is done sooner rather than later.
But what do you think are some of the ways in which the government will use to bring the fruitless?
How the government can I can't hear that last portion.
What are some of the ways that you think the government will use, some of the options that the government will put in place to bring the people that committed the fraud to book, to justice?
Well, I think that is, we have seen we have all witnessed, it was an open forum. Most of us have listened to a good part of the testimony. So there is really nothing new as far as, or anything that is not known. So we know all of it. The testimonies were delivered in public, so we know exactly what transpired. So it should be relatively easy for individual Gambians to make up their minds, but we have to wait for the recommendations to come out. It is only at that time that we will be able to also add our voice to what we think ought to be done. One thing is certain: those people who have made their presentation before the commission, some of them have admitted their wrongdoings. One thing that is of big problems to us is that most of those are still there. Those culprits are still there, who have pilfered the government resources are still in place. Some of them are in very high places, very influential places, where they can continue to do the damage. And I think this message actually should go to the president. I hope he is being very attentive. The Gambians are not very happy with that. Yeah, we thought that those culprits should have been put on hold, sent on leave until we can sort this thing out. But unfortunately, they are all there and continue to do the work.
Are you optimistic that the Gambia will actually recover the alleged money stolen from the Gambian coffers?
Well, it is going to be very difficult to recover. The longer the monies have been pilfered, the more difficult it will get. This is not an issue that lasted only for a few years. It's 22 years. Some of the fixed assets are easy to recover. And I understand also that the Commission has been doing some of that while concurrently receiving testimony from witnesses. So those fixed assets will be okay. The fungible assets, some of them would have dissipated by now anyway. So those will be very difficult. But we will try as much as possible to help them out. There's also an international effort, by the way. 2 days ago, another international investigative team of journalists have been able to identify $1 billion worth of Gambian resources that were pilfered by Jammeh. So it is an international effort also is going along with the local effort. And we hope that at some point there is going to be some convergence between the two to work together to try and see how much money we can be able to extract from those who were responsible for the pilferage.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. It was a pleasure having you on our edition tonight. Viewers, that was Sidi Sane, an economist and a one-time Gambian diplomat, currently in Washington, United States. The United Nations Security Council yesterday unanimously adopted a resolution on combating the financing of terrorism, which expands the focus to key emerging issues, including innovative terrorist financing methods. Resolution 2462 also obliges countries to criminalize terrorist financing even in the absence of a link to a specific terrorist act. Addressing Council members, Financial Action Task Force Marshal Blinsier said terrorism remains a threat to international peace and security from which no region is immune. Here is an insert.
Terrorism remains a threat to international peace and security from which no region is immune. Terrorist groups such as ISIL, Al-Qaeda, and their affiliates continue to obtain funding from a wide range of sources, and they use this funding to conduct terrorist attacks, but they also use it to maintain and grow their terrorist organizations as a whole. Combating all these aspects of terrorist financing is a shared top priority between the Security Council and the Financial Action Task Force. We should all recognize that terrorist financing risks extend well beyond the banking and financial sector. States need to identify all sectors, including those of non-financial services such as construction, commodities, pharmaceutical trafficking, and other cases that are being exploited for terroristic purposes.
Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov hold an interdelegation meeting in Anatolia's southern province of Turkey today. The meeting focuses on further expansion of Russia-Turkey trade and economic cooperation in various areas. consular issues, and promotion of cultural and humanitarian cooperation in the context of conducting a cross-year of culture and tourism in their countries. Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu and his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov hold an interdelegation meeting in Anatolia, southern province of Turkey today. Russian and Turkish foreign ministers met in the Mediterranean province of Anatolia. Sergei Lavrov and Mevlut Cavusoglu will verify their positions on all issues of bilateral interest in the 7th meeting of the Strategic Planning Joint Group. They also discussed a presidential meeting scheduled for April 8. They focused on the further expansion of Russia-Turkey trade and economic cooperation in various areas, consular issues, and promotion of cultural and humanitarian cooperation in the context of conducting a cross-year of culture and tourism in their countries this year. The two ministers exchanged views on the Syrian settlement, cooperation in countering terrorism and organized crime, and developments in the Middle East and North Africa, the South Caucasus, Central Asia, Ukraine, and the Black Sea region. They also discussed ways of enhancing the efficiency of cooperation at international venues and signed a plan for foreign ministry consultations in 2019 to 2020 within the framework of the joint group. The previous meeting of the group was held in Moscow last March. Cavusoglu and Lavrov there in Turkey holding talks on bilateral ties. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that it is important to tackle climate change with much greater ambition, while calling on leaders attending the climate summit in September to come up with a plan instead of a speech. Speaking at a press conference at the launch of WMO's statement on the state of the global climate in 2018, the UN chief listed 3 things stand out from the WMO statement: record highs in land and ocean temperatures, sea levels, and greenhouse gas concentrations. The dramatic impact of extreme weather conditions, the impact on public health is escalating.
It is important that we tackle climate change with much greater ambition. And I am telling leaders, don't come with a speech, come with a plan. I'm calling on them to come to the summit with concrete, realistic plans to put us on a sustainable path once and for all. We are very close to the moment in which it will no longer be possible come to the end of the century with only 1.5 degrees. We have very few years to reverse this trend because the concentrations of CO2 in the atmosphere will not disappear. And so we are getting close to the moment in which irreversibly will be much worse than the scenario that was described by the IPCC. A growing number of governments, cities and businesses, it is true, are already understanding that climate solutions can strengthen our economies, improve air quality and public health, and protect our environment. And we expect initiatives in a diversity of sectors such as energy, sustainable agriculture, forests, oceans, and resilience to climate impacts. And I hope it will also highlight the importance of gender diversity in all decision-making and emphasize the importance of a just transition where no one is left disadvantaged by the necessary climate action.
Asked to picture a future if the global community are not compacting climate change, WMO's Secretary General Petri Talas told reporters one of the key issues here is the lifetime of carbon dioxide is very long, so the problem doesn't disappear if it would not stop emitting carbon to the atmosphere 50 years from now.
One of the key issues here is that the lifetime of carbon dioxide is very long. So the problem doesn't disappear if we would stop emitting carbon to the atmosphere 50 years from now. So we have to find a solution in the coming decades, and if we don't do so, then we will live with the consequences, and it will take thousands of years to return back to the pre-industrial levels of carbon dioxide. And if we go to these higher levels of carbon dioxide, we would also see a major change in the global rainfall patterns. So we would have difficulties in feeding the growing global population. That's, to me, the main concern related to climate change. And the sea level rise would continue at the pace of 1 meter per century. And we have a potential to see sea level rise up to tens of meters if we melt the glaciers of Greenland and Antarctica.
Coming up after the break, London's Central Park Mosque was cordoned off yesterday by police after reports of stabbing on a nearby road.
na broda min ba Europe ni sakonde ko bolo kol kan sai sai na so ko na mano ban ta jabo ban ta tulo ban sai ka bolo kol kan anda ka ba official ko na ba dama bulo mutarin ba ta sun kilame ko mbato ngane ta ya kuri ma ko duban ta na ta mano ta ni tulo ni mun da sai ta la broda man balwo service kalam mun service balwo service ni da furon ta mo kalam mun da a fela broda ko abitala internet ol aya ba site la woldo balwo.com na wo sajje a apo ñu ba download la telephone lo na be sandiro to ni wal na be sidin ala office ko ndama manjar pour ay ta bank ko kodoki abe sidin office ko da minto e do message so e telephone ko no e biti ko be Gambia dawda biti ko ba bele ko ta tano dawda yeta fen ko tawo woda ma yala bari wo service na ta mo da han na ta ñole be kan fi janna bro dan ka ko ta ñole ko ayo ko ti da
balwo service dinkirala jampo wo manken na kolaya ko balwo service al demano kaje ko ale do morfe wol sang alla dimbaya moli ana lakkanun tewol wato bela ani wad sudum fanan kono balwo service la dinkiralu ani la do kunyolu e be banko karo beto kabirin katon fo koyna nalla fa ko ku ko tan so balwo service la kolto ali commandi telephone la no la melbuko 9400213 7694319 wala 3192870 wala hankabi alta internet oto alila kolu jibe www.baluwo.com.
Welcome back. We remind you that you're watching the World Today Evening Bulletin. Let's now take a look at the remaining stories. London's Central Regent's Park Mosque was cordoned off yesterday by police after reports of stabbing on a nearby road. Metropolitan Police said the incident was not terror-related, but they sealed off the mosque as they searched for the suspects. Mohammed Yusuf from the congregation said 2 suspects ran into the mosque to hide and police did not let anyone come out of the mosque.
Yes, there's 2 persons. They stabbed someone in the canal and then they ran away inside the mosque. So they are hiding, and the police was chasing them, and they're looking for them, but they're still inside the mosque. So they're not allowing anyone to come inside or come outside from the mosque.
But nobody from the mosque was harmed?
No one was harmed. No one's harmed. Everyone was safe, and nothing happened inside the mosque. We all happened outside the mosque, not inside the mosque. They just ran in. They just ran to the mosque, and the police, they're chasing them, they're looking for them. That's what happened.
The United Nations has sent a team of investigators to Mali's restive Mopti region, where more than 150 people were killed last weekend, a spokeswoman said on Tuesday. The horrific attacks marked a significant surge in violence across communal lines and by so-called self-defense groups, apparently attempting to root out violent extremist groups. Weekend, a spokeswoman said on Tuesday. The raid took place on Saturday in the village of Ouagassogou, home to the Fulani herding community near the town of Mopti in central Mali. Local officials and security sources said the death toll had climbed to 160, while the UN Rights Office said at least 150 people were killed and 73 were wounded. The horrific attacks marked a significant surge in violence across communal lines and by so-called self-defense groups, apparently attempting to root out violent extremist groups, said Ravina Samdasani, spokeswoman for the UN Rights Office. In the Mopti region alone, attacks had led to some 600 deaths of women, children and men, as well as thousands of displaced persons since March 2018, she told reporters. More than a third of those killed had died since the beginning of 2019, she added. The UN has sent a team of 10 human rights officers, a child protection officer and 2 crime scene investigators to Mopti region to investigate Saturday's attack, Samdasani said. We are in direct contact with the authorities, she said, adding that the UN had offered to help to bring the perpetrators to justice in order to break the circle of impunity. An armed group from within the Dogon Agni group, a hunting and farming community with a long history of tension with the Fulani over access to land, is suspected of having carried out Saturday's raid. On Sunday, the Malian government announced the dissolution of one Dogon militia. Samdasani said that on many occasions the attacks are said to be motivated by a desire to root out individuals linked to the violent extremist groups. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you on the World Today Evening Bulletin. For more on these and other stories, log on to our website, iafrica.tv. I am Fatmata Jajo. Bye for now. Do stay tuned for our upcoming programs. Fear over electoral rigging rocks Zimbabwe as the country.
Yesterday, after listening to Prime Minister May's assessment of the state of the negotiations,
why it is our diocesan patron feast day is because the Cathedral of Our Lady of the Assumption is dedicated.
Do not have it in their mindset or in their psyche that we are playing against Algeria.